We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
John. John is using a Yamaha RX V781 receiver with Mission, oh my god, all the sevens. Mission 774 tower front, 77 CI center, and 77 DS surrounds, along with a subwoofer he had left over from the Onkyo home theater in a box. Why does everybody keep those things? Okay, his theater area is 25 by 19 with 14-foot cathedral ceilings. With half of the back open and a 3/4 of a wall on one side open as well. Anyways, it's just open.
Wide open space.
Wide open space. So that seating area is immaterial. That we just whatever. He wants to upgrade his speakers and subwoofer, and his primary concern is music. Although TV and movies are also important to him. He doesn't have many stores close by to go listen to speakers. His only local hi-fi shop let him audition some B&W speakers that he thought sounded good, but he didn't love them and he didn't prefer them to his Mission speakers. And he recently auditioned some CAF Q300 bookshelf speakers, but he still prefers his Missions.
Which is all fair, by the way, because Mission makes some nice speakers.
I am perfectly okay with this. I do not think you're a crazy person. So let's go on.
At all.
His Yamaha receiver is still brand new, but he could return it. Should he exchange it for something else? Will it be holding back any speakers he might try to buy to upgrade his Missions? Not unless you buy something that requires a whole bunch of power, which doesn't sound like you're going to do.
This is a 95 watts per channel, 7-channel AV receiver. Compared to any other AV receiver you would get at the same price point, it is significantly worse or better. Yeah. So it's not like I could point you to a receiver from another brand that's in the same price point that would be significantly better. Key here is that the one you already have has a full set of pre-outs. So if you need more power, you can add more power to what you already have in the form of external amps, which is a nice feature to have.
If you like the receiver, then stick with it. There's no reason to
there's nothing about that makes me say, you must return that. There's nothing significantly better for the same price. Yeah.
So for the subwoofer, he was strongly considering Rythmik. He could afford either a single FVX15. What? They put
That's
like the three hardest letters to say back to back. FVX, because FX or VX. Okay, but FVX. Okay, stop.
Well, they always put V when it's vented. That's their thing. They don't say ported. They say vented. So it's it's
or
a vented
dual 50. LV12R. So those we can afford from Rythmik. Basically, he's aiming for about $1,000. We'll spend about $1,000. So what would we suggest? Well, I think we mentioned this earlier. If you were looking for your a price leader in subwoofers, you are looking for at SVS or HSU. So this is a very big room, though. This is a very big space.
Because it's a pretty big area as the theater to begin with, and then it's also open to a bunch of other parts of the house.
Generally speaking, in that case, you're looking at HSU because HSU makes subs that will be bigger, that will fill up bigger spaces for less money. They aren't very pretty, but whatever. And SVS, in order to fill up those big spaces, you generally have to go go up in price quite a bit.
More expensive.
SVS is great if you have a reasonable sized theater room, and you can get a lot of subwoofer for very little money. So which models should we be looking at?
That
Rob?
said, if you're dead set on Rythmik, the FVX15 is not a terrible choice. But you can get more output from HSU for actually a little bit less money in the form of their VTF-15H Mk2. That's HSU's highest output subwoofer, but it's still under $1,000. And it can play a bit louder. It's closer to the output of the FV15HP from Rythmik, which is a step up from the FVX15. So since you have such a large amount of space to fill and you're trying to keep the price around $1,000, about the best bang for buck is that HSU VTF-15H. If you just don't like the looks of it and you want to get a Rythmik, the FVX15 is not a terrible choice. I wouldn't recommend the dual LV12Rs in this situation because they aren't up to the task of pressurizing your room space. And as we mentioned with Christian, when you have an open, irregularly shaped space, the dual subwoofer setup is a lot more complicated and harder to predict.
Yeah.
And very likely in your size of space, because you've got a significant amount of space, it might not really be terribly necessary, especially for your primary seat. If that's the one that you care most about, you can get good results with one sub in a big open room like this.
Yeah, I think so too. One big sub is probably going to at least be a little bit easier to deal with in the short term, in the long term, in all the terms.
I mean, don't get us wrong. 2 gigantic high output subs would be fantastic. We would go for that. But there's a budget to consider. What's more important is getting the capable output in this situation. So
he's also strongly considering the Sound Acoustics Sierra RAL speakers. He isn't sure if he should spend extra to get the Sierra Towers over the RAL ones, over the Sierra 2s for front, left, and right. And the center would have to be either a Sierra 2 center or a custom horizontal RAL, since the regular Horizon center is too tall for the space he has available. So once he finds speakers that he considers a true upgrade over his missions, he'll likely keep them for a long time. So he's willing to spend good money on them as long as it's really the best choice. This is not a question, right? There's no question in this. This is just a statement. There's no question.
Well, he's looking for some advice. Should he go for the Towers? Should he go for the Sierra 2s?
You know what? I'm going to tell you something, dude. This is what I think you should do. I think you should buy a new subwoofer, and I think you should stop right there for a month or two. Spend that month doing research, coming up with lots of ideas, things that you can do. You can go on a lot of forums and find out who is about speakers that you're interested in. Like if you're interested in this Sound Acoustics, go on the Sound Acoustics forums. Find out if there's anybody in your area or nearby who's got the speakers you're looking at. It would be willing to let you listen to them. It'll give you some time to do some more listening tests and stuff. But I think that upgrading your subwoofers, it's going to make a massive difference.
Oh, I mean, he's going from a home theater and a box sub to either a Rythmik or an HSU. That is going to be life-changingly different.
And that difference is going to be so massive that you aren't going to be able to appreciate any other differences. Honestly, I don't think you will. I don't think you're going to be able to get a new sub and new speakers and know where you're hearing the difference from. So get the sub, live with the sub for a month or two. Then go and start thinking about bringing in some speakers into your house. Now, are these great speakers? Rob obviously thinks so, and almost all the people who have bought them because of Rob's recommendation have thought so too. The only person that I can remember that didn't agree with him clearly didn't have them set up correctly as far as we were concerned. So that had weird expectations as well. So that being said, I really think you should get the sub and live with it for a bit.
Sure.
Just hold off on buying the speakers for at least a month or two, maybe more, and then so that you're really ready to appreciate the difference between your Mission speakers. The fact is, he likes these speakers.
That's right. And it's not like you're starting with crappy speakers. You're starting with nice Mission speakers. So
he's preferring them over stuff like B&Ws, and he's preferring them over KEFs, which B&Ws have a sound of their own, but KEFs, I can kind of, I can look at that and go, okay, you are critically listening here, which makes me think, just keep that money someplace, and let it grow, and let it do its thing, and just keep listening to speakers, keep auditioning stuff, and wait. Don't be impatient, because like you said, you want to spend good money on something you're really going to like.
Right.
Therefore, wait and find something you really like before you try to force it, because then you will be as happy as you possibly can. And believe me, you're going to be real happy in about 2 weeks when you get a new sub, because that sub's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And you're going to be really busy dealing with that.
Now, just to answer the question directly, as for towers versus bookshelves, he's in a space large enough. I'm just going to say, if you're sitting farther than 15 feet away, or 15 feet away or farther from your front speakers, I would suggest just going for the towers, because pretty much any bookshelf speakers, unless they're really designed for high output, are going to start to struggle a little bit at a distance greater than 15 feet.
Right.
If you're 12 feet or closer, I would say opt for the bookshelves. The distance between you and the speakers matters more for your front speakers. So if you're closer than 12 feet, go for the bookshelves. If you're farther than 15, go for the towers. If you're in the in-between zone, which you very well might be, of 12 to 15, it's a little bit more of a question mark. And it is a significant amount of money. So the other thing you can do, since you're saying it's hard for you to audition speakers, there's not a lot of options for you. AVRant and SVS both offer free two-way shipping. That's one way to at least hear a couple more alternatives. So some SVS Ultra towers, some AVRant Veris 2 Grand towers.
Right.
Send them back. They will pay the shipping back. So it's one way to just get a little bit more exposure to some other things that are out there. And who knows, maybe one of them completely floats your boat and you're like, there, I'm done. So.
But I'm going to be honest with you, dude. If you do that the same time as you get this new sub, you may find yourself buying speakers and regretting it because you like the new sound you're hearing, but you're not.
But it was mostly the sub.
It's mostly the sub. Get the sub, live with the sub, then get the speakers. I really think that's the way to go.
I agree.
Now, lastly, he's found that he's listening to more and more of his music using Spotify Premium. That's still a lossy source, though, 320 kilobits per second. So is he overspending on speakers no matter what? Is that lossy source actually holding him back no matter how good the speakers are? This dude, seriously, 320. If you can hear the difference between 320 and CD, you better than me. You better than me. I can't hear it.
Or just fooling yourself.
You could be fooling yourself. I don't think. I think he's just concerned that if he's going to start streaming.
Well, sure.
Now, if you guys
That's
Spotify
fair.
Premium, I understand what you're saying. I do not think that you have to worry about this. I don't.
I am very unconcerned about 320 kilobit per second compression.
Yes.
You're right. It is technically still lossy. There is some information being lost, but man, oh man, I cannot hear it.
No.
So I'm not worried about it. Now, if you were saying all I listen to is the free version of Pandora at 64 kilobits per second, then I would say, ugh.
I can hear that. I can hear. I mean, and I've told you I prefer Pandora. I've said that on the podcast.
For the format.
But it's for the format. I don't care. I mean, I listen to it in my car half the time. Not half
that's
the
right.
time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, about half the time I'm listening to it in my car. I can't hear any of that. Not in my car. I mean, come on. Let's be reasonable. Who needs high quality stuff in your car?
If Spotify Premium is your go-to, good speakers will let you enjoy your music even more. So.
That's right. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.